City Name Kids Church Online.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Jamie.
And today we're going to be talking about how Nehemiah speaks up.
But that will be after a time of worship.
You're watching Live 3 Kids.
Don't worry about anything, instead pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all He has done. Don't worry, instead pray. Don't worry, instead pray. Don't worry about anything, instead pray about everything. Tell God what you need. Thank Him for all He has done. Don't worry, instead pray. Don't worry, instead pray. If you do this, then His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. Don't worry, instead pray. Don't worry, instead pray. Instead pray. Instead pray.
We've talked about how the nation of Israel had been divided into two after the reign of King Solomon. It was divided into the northern kingdom with the capital at Samaria and the southern kingdom called Judah with its capital in Jerusalem. Now, because of the naughty things that the northern kingdom kept on doing, they were taken into captivity by the Assyrians 120 years before a similar thing happened to the southern kingdom, that is to Judah, where they, because of the naughty things that they sometimes did, they were taken into captivity by the Babylonians. The difference, however, is that the people from the northern kingdom really didn't go back to their land. However, the people from the southern kingdom, the people from Judah, were able to go back to Jerusalem and Judah. That's those people who wanted to go back. And that's where our story starts today. When Babylon won Jerusalem, when they defeated Jerusalem and Judah, they destroyed so many things. They knocked down and burnt the temple, the houses, the wall. They just destroyed everything. But after 70 years of the Jews being in captivity in Babylon and in other places that they went to, they were allowed to go back to Judah and Jerusalem to rebuild. And that's what people did. They went back to their homeland. In those days, cities were surrounded by walls. These walls were for protection. They also made a statement like, this city is mine, is ours. This is where we are from. This is who we are, and this is our land. A city wall was very, very, very important. So there was a man named Nehemiah who was the cupbearer to King Artaxerxes. A cupbearer was a very important person because he was the only one that was allowed to pour wine or any drink for the king. Of course, before he would pour the wine, he would taste it just in case someone who wanted to take the king out had poisoned it. So a cupbearer was a trusted person and an important person to the king. In those days, to be in the king's presence, you had to be happy. You always had to have your happy face on. You weren't allowed to be sad. I mean, even if you were sad, you weren't allowed to show it. You were not allowed to have your sad face on. Because if you did have your sad face on, it would be very dangerous for you if you were in the king's presence and you had your sad face on. But Nehemiah did have his sad face on when he was in the presence of the king and the queen. What it was his brother had come to visit him from Jerusalem. And Nehemiah asked him, "Oh, how is it going amongst our people, the Jews in Jerusalem?" The news was not good. His brother told him that the people in Jerusalem, they were in a lot of trouble and a lot of disgrace. The walls of Jerusalem had been burnt down, they had been knocked down. Oh my goodness. This made Nehemiah sad. Remember, I talked about the importance of a city wall. So Nehemiah cried out to God in fasting and with prayer. He prayed to God, asking that God would let the king be favorable to whatever it is Nehemiah had to say or to ask. This must have really weighed down on him because he was serving King Artaxerxes, and the king noticed that he was sad, and he asked him, "Why are you sad? I can see that you're not ill. You must really be troubled." Oh my goodness. Nehemiah was terrified. He was terrified. Can you imagine? The king caught him with his sad face on. And the king wasn't alone this time. He was with the queen. So Nehemiah blurted out everything that was going on in Jerusalem. And the king asked, how could he help? That was answered prayer right there. So Nehemiah gave a list of things that he required, and the queen asked how long he would be away for. So Nehemiah was granted leave to Jerusalem, where he went and was able to miraculously get that wall built in 52 days. There were lots of ups and downs in the building of the wall. People from around opposed him seriously. Whatever the case, Nehemiah spoke up in prayer to God. He spoke up to the king and the queen, and the wall of Jerusalem was built and completed in 52 days. You can read more about this in the book of Nehemiah, but for today, that's the end of the story.
Hello! What a wonderful account of Nehemiah, another man who was bold to speak up to a king and change the lives of his people because he had prayed. So many people in this series are great prayers, aren't they? Are you a good prayer? Do you find it easy or do you find it hard? Well, this craft today is to help us pray. It's what I'm calling a prayer cube, and it's this little paper cube, and on each side we've got a starter sentence. Someone on my mind is, thank you for, please forgive me for, please help me with, I'm worried about, there must be another one, I praise you for. And so what you can do is just roll your cube and then think, oh, I'm worried about, I am worried about this, and pray about that. Or, oh, someone on my mind is, my friend has got this coming up, I'm going to pray for that. So you can see how it really helps you to pray. So to make one of these, we're going to need to make a cube, and this is a net of a cube. This is a cube made flat. You can see that there are 6 squares because a cube has 6 faces, and then there are these tabs drawn on extra, which is how you glue it all together. This isn't the only way to make a net of a cube, but this is quite a convenient one for fitting on a piece of paper. Now, I've made my one 4 centimeters by 4 centimeters because I think that's a nice small size. On a piece of A4 like this, you could actually make a bigger one. You could make one that was 5 centimeters square by 5 centimeters. But I'm going to show you how to do this one. So the main part of this is just drawing really, really accurately. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw these lines up here, but we need to make sure that they're parallel with the edge of the page so we can keep everything straight. So what I've done is I've taken my ruler and I've just measured along 8 centimeters and put a little mark, and then somewhere else measure it along 8 centimeters and put a little mark, and then put your ruler up and down those 2 marks. Now, because what we want is 4 boxes that are each 4 centimeters long, this line is obviously going to be 16 centimeters, so you can draw that in, but then put a little mark every 4, so 4, 8, 12, 16. Next thing we want to do is draw across the top. So if you put your ruler on, and either you could measure from the top, or you can probably tell by eye, you just want it to be parallel with this line to make sure that this angle here is definitely 90 degrees, so it's definitely a square corner. So put your ruler on and measure along 4 centimeters, and then we need to do the same at the bottom. You need to make sure you've definitely got a right angle, so just look carefully at it. Make sure that this ruler looks like it's parallel with the bottom, and we'll draw 4 centimeters. And then you can join these 2 lines up, but again you need to mark off 4, 8, 12. So what you'll have now is this middle shape. Now we're going to do these lines that go sideways. So if you put your ruler down to the first, I'll put it that way so it's centimeters, to the first set of marks, and we're going to join up those 2, but then we're going to carry on another 4 centimeters. And we'll move down to the next set of marks, and we're going to join up those 2, but do another 4 centimeters out that way and another 4 centimeters out that way. So this line is 12 long. Then go down to the 3rd set of marks, and we'll join those 2 up and carry on 4 centimeters. And then you just need to join up that line and that line, and you should have your complete shape. Once you've got that, you want to draw in the tabs, and you can see for these you want to do a little diagonal line down and then a line across, a diagonal line down, a line across for each one. And the places you need them are at the bottom, each side here, that side there, and each side there. Right, I'm just going to let you look at that shape for a moment so that you can get that done. Once you've done that, the next thing we're going to do is colour it in. So, this is a prayer cube. You want it to encourage you to pray. So choose what colours you like, but I think you want some really pretty colours that go well together. I've used reds, purples and greens to make this really nice effect. But any colours that you think are going to encourage you to pray. Once you've coloured in each cube, then you want to write on your prayer starter. So the ones I've used are thank you for, someone on my mind is, I'm worried about, please help me with, I praise you for, and please forgive me for. But you could use any starter sentences that you wanted to talk to God about. Then, obviously, cut it out with all of your tabs. Now the next part we also need to be accurate with, because we need to fold along all of these lines, And we need to make sure we do it carefully and accurately. So just don't rush this, but just for each line, just make sure you've got it absolutely straight. And then put in a good fold. So I'm starting by folding the lines between the faces of the cube. And once I've got all of those, then we need to fold over the tabs. And then we're going to do the fun part, which is folding it up. Now, obviously, once you get good at making cubes, you could use these for all kinds of things. You could make little decorations to hang on your tree. You could put a different picture from the Christmas story on each face, or a picture of a robin, or just colour it in Christmassy colours. So now what we're going to do is put glue on all of these tabs. I think it's easiest just to do them all at once, because the folding up is a little bit tricky. There we go. Have I put them on them all? Not that one. I think that's all of them. Right, and now, to be honest, it works very easily. You just need to take each side in turn and fold it over and stick it to the tab that is there. The first few are easy because you can get your hand inside, but then when you get to the last ones, it's more difficult because there's not really anything to press down on. So you just have to do your best, press it as best you can. But there we have it, a little prayer cube, ready to help me pray anytime that I want to. Well, I hope you enjoyed making these little cubes. I hope you have a wonderful prayer time this week, and I'll see you again next week. Bye.
The way things were done and the way people behaved in Bible times are way different than the times today.
Why do you say that?
Well, how can you have to smile and behave happy when you're not happy at all?
Oh, you're talking about how Nehemiah had to smile around the king.
Well, yes.
It was their rule. But if you think about it, why would you be going around long-faced? Just as how happiness is infectious, so is unhappiness.
I suppose you're right. But Nehemiah was terrified when the king asked him why he was unhappy. And he was evidently not sick.
There must have been some sort of punishment for being sad around the king. The news from his brother must have been weighing heavily on him to be sad around the king and queen.
Well, I guess it was worth it in the end, because after he had prayed to God, he was able to speak to the king and queen boldly.
And they allowed him to go and repair the walls surrounding Jerusalem, providing everything that he needed.
It was done in record time.
You can get the full story of this in the book of Nehemiah. I'm sure you will really enjoy it. That's it for this week.
Till next time.
Bye.